Bill O'Reilly downplays the influence of Nick Fuentes and the America First movement. This will be good.
There is no civil war in the Republican Party other than whether President Trump's going to be able to get prices down so the Republicans can win the midterms. That's the war.
So there's no, just to be clear, there's no war in MAGA or among conservatives about not wanting to fund a foreign country. So it's only about prices. That's it, full stop. Like there's no interest at all among young people about stopping the support of foreign aid to other countries and actually making America first and America only. Okay, just to be clear.
Get the beef prices down, not crazy things that Nick Fuentes or these other loons say on social media. So I always...
Which, by the way, is tied exactly to the health and welfare of this country, the crazy things that Nick Fuentes says about this country. Okay.
Sit back and I watch this. I'm a Luddite. I'm not on social media. I don't waste my time. And I watch it with fascination.
Because it's beneath him, you know. He's too good because he's up, he's up here. I don't waste my time. I don't waste my time with what people are saying. I'm totally out of touch. I'm totally cut off and I'm up here while everyone else is down here. So I'm totally cut off between about that.
Because there are certain people in America, in Great Britain, that have figured out how they can use social media to their advantage, and they have no scruples to say anything, but it doesn't mean anything to people's lives, in my humble opinion.
You mentioned Fuentes there. What's interesting about him, he's gathering a lot more followers. He's appearing on big online platforms like Tucker Carlson's and so on. People are now openly debating him. I want to just play one clip of something he said.
You can call me a Nazi. You better be careful. Because if I'm a Nazi, then there's millions of young people that are following a fucking Nazi. So you better be careful about those words. You're saying I'm a Nazi, I'm a monster. There's a million monsters then. There's a million Nazis out there then. Because they love my show and they agree with me way more than they agree with you. And they're pissed off. And they'll follow me into battle. So you better be real careful. You're barking up the wrong tree with that.
Now, what I think is relevant, Bill, is that, I find him a ridiculous character. I think he's a deliberate kind of agent, provocateur, troll, the kind of guy who at school would, have a pop at everybody from the back of the classroom and had no mates and so on. However, we live in a different world with the media now.
I love the condescension of these guys, like these two old white guys who just sort of dismiss what Fuentes is saying. They're not hearing what he's saying. It's very easy to focus on the Nazi thing, which of course he's responding to by people like Mark Levin and others, right? So it's very easy to be condescending and like dismissive of a young guy, calling him a troll and all of these things. And because you are on some sort of a pedestal, looking down, casting dispersions on all of these young people. Because it's not about Fuentes. It's not about Fuentes at all. It's really about young men who are totally disillusioned in this country, finding it incredibly difficult to get jobs, be able to stand on their own 2 feet in this economy, in this climate, in this country right now. And they're so pissed off and disillusioned, as Fuentes says, they're pissed off. They're mad. They're mad that you just wildly opened the borders and allowed all these people to come in. They're mad that you're lying about being transparent. You're mad about what you're, stopping foreign wars. You're mad about sending billions of dollars to foreign countries. But he's just a troll. Okay.
Where, the average age of cable news watchers now is over 70, for example. Young people under 40 don't watch the news. They don't watch television. They don't listen, obviously, to vinyl music. It's all digital. They don't read print newspapers.
Okay, 2 things he just said that are total bullshit. First of all, they don't watch the news. They might not be watching your news. They're not watching Fox News. They're not watching irrelevant news. Dinosaur news, MSNBC, CNN, Fox News, those are all dying. They're totally irrelevant. They're totally irrelevant to the conversation. Because the people that watch Fox News, yes, are over 70 years old. So young people are far more educated about the news. They're getting their news from YouTube. They're getting their news from social media. They're getting their news directly from sources. They're getting their news from citizen journalists rather than these clowns who work for, organizations with these paid corporate overlords. So it's so insulting. Like, they're uneducated. They're not watching my news on my channel, on my television show. They're uneducated. They're not watching Fox News. Therefore, AKA, they must be uneducated. The second thing that he said there, which is kind of hilarious, is that they're listening to digital music only, and that vinyl music, I mean, this is just an aside, but like, that's just so wrong. That's a lie. Vinyl music sales have skyrocketed. My 13-year-old daughter loves vinyl records. She got a record player last year for Christmas that she wanted. She loves her. She sits and listens to like Fleetwood Mac, Rumors. She's got a whole country music artists. Like, she loves vinyl. In fact, this Christmas she's asked for like 3 vinyl records for Christmas. Like, that's what she asked for. Vinyl record sales have skyrocketed. Do you know why? Actually, I've talked to a Nashville country producer about this, and all of these artists are signing vinyl record deals because it's the only format where the artists actually make money. Almost all of the other streaming, digital sale, they make nothing. Nothing. They make like zero. So the only way these artists make money with an album is actual vinyl. So they're selling them at concerts, they sell them at stores. Anyway, and a huge bulk of those sales go to the artists. That's why these sales are skyrocketing and young people are buying vinyl. So you don't know what you're talking about. I mean, that's just a lie. Anyway, I mean, that's an aside, but again, you're just making things up.
And so on. They're moving very quickly to an all-digital existence. And that is why these online people like Fuentes are getting a lot of momentum with young people. How damaging could that potentially be?
How damaging is Speaker's Corner in Hyde Park? I mean, you could drag that guy off the little platform there. The only damage here is perspective. So,
yeah, it's so damaging, right? It's so damaging for young people to be able to find somebody who is echoing their voice or is amplifying their voice. They feel marginalized, like young men feel marginalized. They feel like they don't have a voice. How damaging is that? That they're not pulling like from our mainstream media news narrative. How damaging is it that they're saying there's a uniparty in Washington, D.C., and all of these people are corrupt, and there's only a few people who actually stand for us. People like, Thomas Massey, Marjorie Taylor Greene, America First, Senator Rand Paul. Very few. And so how dangerous would that be?
We have in New York City a communist mayor now, Ma'am Donnie. So everybody voted for Ma'am Donnie, and most of them were younger people. Are they all communists? No, they don't know anything. And
Okay, so 70% of the young Jewish population in New York voted for Mamdani. They don't know anything then. They're stupid. No, it turns out they knew something. They didn't want to support a corrupt Cuomo who killed people in nursing homes. They didn't want to go along with when, President Trump says you got to support Cuomo. When the establishment on Fox News tells you that you need to support Cuomo. They weren't listening to Fox News. They weren't listening to the establishment. The young people were saying enough. And yeah, socialist, communist. Yeah, he's friends with George Soros. No fan of Mamdani. No fan of Chris Cuomo. Or no fan of Cuomo. So, but they're just out of touch, I guess. They're uneducated, is what Bill's saying.
Mr. Fuentes' crew is in the same bubble. They're ignorant. They don't know history. And this guy...
I'm sorry. So Nick Fuentes' crew is ignorant and they don't know history. You've interviewed all of them? Millions of them? They're ignorant and they don't know history. This is coming from a guy, by the way, I don't know if you know, like Bill O'Reilly has a number of history books that he's written. He's supposed to be a history author. So Bill O'Reilly's telling these young people that they don't know anything. They're uneducated about history. They don't know their history. Bill O'Reilly doesn't even write these books. They're all ghost written by other people. So he puts his name on all of these books like Killing Jesus or Killing Lincoln or whatever. They're not written by him at all. He just puts his name on it and makes money off of it. So he doesn't even sit down and he's not. I love this idea that he's like Ernest Hemingway sitting there at a typewriter with a cat on his lap and a cigarette, you know, and a scotch writing. He's like the great American author. His books are massive bestsellers. Why? Because of his name and because of the publishing company that pushes it, and they're all ghost written by other people. So you're lecturing Nick Fuentes' audience about knowledge of history, and yet you're not even writing your own history books? And I know this because I used to work at Fox, and I can tell you that I don't think anybody there who has a book, who publishes a book, actually writes it themselves. I could be wrong about some of it. I think across the board, they're all ghost written because it'll say the name of the host of the anchor of the news show, and then at the bottom it'll say, you know, co-author. But it's not a co-author. That co-author is doing all of the research and all of the writing. They're just putting their name on the front of it. They might collaborate on an idea, like O'Reilly says, hey, let's, in this killing series, who else can we talk about that got killed? How about killing John Lennon? Okay, let's go ahead and write it. I'll put my name on it and make a lot of money. By the way, just so you know, the only person I know when I worked at Fox News that actually wrote their own books was Tucker Carlson. Do you know why? Because Tucker is an excellent writer. Have you ever read his writings? It's excellent. He's a great writer. He used to be an editor on top of that. So and by the way, they didn't like his book, Ship of Fools, that he wrote because it slammed neocons. And of course, the establishment doesn't like when you pick on Mitch McConnell and all of these clowns in the GOP. So, but yeah, Tucker's like the only one that actually writes his own books. But I love that he's lecturing these young men about being uneducated about history, and he's not even writing his own books.
He's tapped into this ignorance in a megalomaniacal way to elevate himself. But a year from now, he's not even going to be around. But I will warn him, be careful of your own safety.
In a year from now, Fuentes won't even be around. Because your safety, because he'll be killed, I guess is what you're saying? So in 1 year, Fuentes will be irrelevant. He's irrelevant now, according to Bill O'Reilly, but in a year, he'll be gone. So we don't have to worry about him.
Because you're appealing to a fringe nut loon crowd. And that's on both the left and the right. And when you put yourself out there like that, so I don't want anything bad to happen to that young man. But as far as being taken seriously as somebody who has an effect on the United States, he doesn't. There aren't millions of young fascist pro-Hitlerites running around this country.
Exactly. So what you're doing is you're literally arguing against Mark Levin's position on this, which is that he represents Nazis, and there's millions of his like little Nazi followers that are running around. No, they're disillusioned young men who are sick of the lies from Washington, D.C. You're missing the point, but you're making my point, Bill, which is that they're not fascists. So on the one hand, you're calling them fascist, yet you're saying they're not fascist, and they're not millions of followers that are running around Sieg Heil and whatever. What are you trying to say?
I just did a commentary, and I hope you watch it, Piers, and if you do, I'll come back to discuss it on anti-Semitism. All right? Is it a problem in America? Is anti-Semitism a problem? It's a problem to the extent that it's the same in Ireland, or in Wales, or in England. There are some anti-Semites, but they don't have power, although the Irish are really getting there with Connolly, okay? And you gotta watch that. But in America, there was a poll, 70% of the 7.5 million American Jews, 7.5 million out of 340 million Americans, 70% said they don't feel any danger. Their lives aren't affected by it, but it is disturbing. I'm not minimizing. And so I go through anti-Semitism in the world and in America. why it exists, how it happened, and up to the present day. There are people who hate Jews, people who hate blacks, people who hate Irish, all right? But these are marginalized people largely. If I felt, Piers, there was a danger to America by a rise of a hate group, I would be on that story every day.
So just to be clear, this idea we hear about from people like Mark Levin and others, and we've got social media account. We hear the Trump administration and Pam Bondi with this like task force going after anti-Semitism, that it's the greatest threat to America, that if you say something anti-Semitic online, like you'll be locked up or you'll have your visa revoked or you won't be able to enter the United States of America. And so what Bill's saying is, it's not even that big of a deal. That when you ask Jews in America, do they feel there's anti-Semitic hate coming after them from all quarters? 70% overwhelmingly say no. Like, where is it? Like, is it on X where you're seeing like anti-Semitism? Like that it's such a cancer? Like that people are so obsessed with it? No. It's you have a few voices on Twitter who are obsessed with it and who are amplifying it to make it sound like it's the greatest threat. Remember when the Biden administration told us that white supremacists were the greatest threat to the United States? That was the greatest threat? White supremacists. They're just like marching in the street. They're taking over this country. That's our number one greatest threat in the United States of America. Not the 50 million illegal immigrants that we've let across the border into the United States, which is dramatically changing the culture of this country, or the fact that we're $38 trillion in debt. No, it's white supremacists. Like, do you know any white supremacists? I've literally never met one that I can think of. Maybe covering it in a news story at one point somewhere, but honestly, I don't think I've ever met one. So where is this pervasive problem, and where is this? Anyway, Bill's making my point again.
I won't put Fuentes on my program.
Why
would I bother? Go ahead.
No, but that's the interesting part of this, is that Fuentes has millions of people who subscribe to his stuff. They trend mostly young and...
No, he doesn't. How many subscribers do you have, Bill? He's got millions, Fuentes does. Millions. He's not that influential.
And to the right. Yeah, but here's my point. You're right about anti-Semitism, I believe. But he is a brazen anti-Semite, spewing quite regularly brazen anti-Semitic views to a very large group of young men in particular.
I don't know how
That's
large
why I say
that
that
is.
I think it's probably...
I really...
Well, he has many millions of people that follow him.
Millions of people that follow you, what does that mean? I mean, do they go out going Sieg Heil? I mean, come on.
No, they're not going out going Sieg Heil. But he has millions of people that listen to him. Like, again, they're not Hitlerites running around. Sieg Heil, white supremacists, like looking to kill people. That's not who they are. But he has millions of followers. I love the dismissive nature of it. Like, Bill was so obsessed with being number one cable news host when he was at Fox News. Like, welcome to The Factor, the number one news show. You know, you're in The Factor. Welcome to the No Spin Zone. You're in The Factor, the number one news show in cable news, you know. So I love that he's like dismissive of the fact that this young kid, who's irrelevant, who will be gone in a year, has more people that pay attention to him than Bill O'Reilly does. So he's just jealous.
I got two kids in their 20s. They don't have anything to do with this guy. They know who he is. I just don't see it as a social problem.
Okay, well, you're right. I don't think it's a social problem. But also your anecdote about just two kids in your house, and you're not online because you're a Luddite, as you say. Therefore, what's your sample size? 2 kids in your house? Like, that's your knowledge base?
Now, maybe it will develop into one, but I doubt it. The problem is exploiting a guy like Fuentes.
First of all, Donald Trump thought his voice was important enough that he invited him to dinner before he became president, to meet with him. He knew who he was. He knew exactly who he was. to sit down and then listen to Nick Fuentes and actually to take notes basically on what he was saying about young people in the United States of America. Donald Trump invited him to dinner. He thought his voice was important enough to listen to. But
Now there you get into, well, if I put him on the show, I'm going to get high ratings. Most American broadcasters will not do that. They won't. And it's not that they're so noble. It's just that the corporate masters go, no, you're not putting that guy on. Now, I'm an independent, all right? I won't put him on because I don't want to insult my audience.
So you think your audience is stupid because they couldn't handle having a conversation with someone they might not agree with or might disagree with. Like, thank you for being the gatekeeper of your audience. You don't want to insult your audience where they could do their own free thinking. Thank you for that. Thank you for protecting them, right? I mean, because they can't think on their own. So you're only going to have people on your show that you've kept at a gate and allowed on your show. Thank you for protecting your audience. And by the way, you just admitted something that's so true, which is like these gatekeepers at the mainstream media, these keepers of the content, these high-powered overlords who run these cable news stations, they drive the narrative. So they're not going to have Fuentes on because it totally upends their entire narrative. It totally upends their entire apple cart. If you put a guy like Fuentes on your show, oh my God, what might he do?
And this guy couldn't stand up to me for 2 minutes because I know what the Third Reich was. And again, I'll go back to confronting evil. You want to know how evil it was? You read the book. Is Fuentes going to read the book? He's not.
Yeah, Fuentes, he's wildly uneducated. And you, as a historian who has ghostwriters write your history books for you, you are the arbiter. You know more about history than anybody. Like, no one could get close to you. Please educate us about the evils of the Third Reich. Like, we all know it. Fuentes has never read a book in his life.
Because it doesn't advance him to know what the truth is. He's not interested in the truth. I won't put anybody on my program that I think is a charlatan, that I think is manipulating the system, because that is insulting my audience. And that's the category in which he fits. Now,
it's so insulting to my audience to put on someone like Nick Fuentes. So many things to unpack there, but I love that the idea that Nick Fuentes is uneducated, he hasn't read a book when he's openly talked about being a voracious reader and changing his viewpoints as a result of reading over the years. Like, he was a wildly different political animal back in the day, and he changed his viewpoints as he discovered and read books. But okay. Maybe he should read one of your books that's ghostwritten by somebody else. Thank you for subscribing, and we'll see you next time.